So the outer world of change. Here comes Stephen. Good. So when we are centered in real self, the world of change, of relationship, of pain and pleasure, of likes and dislikes continues as it is. But we are not influenced. We are not dictated by them. So it is all because the mind has transformed. One, and it is also because this mind is now not running after anything in the world because of likes and dislikes. But the same mind uses the word. Yes, we have Lara. So it uses everything at its best. So we are understanding what and who prompts the mind to seek happiness outside. Once it is very clear to the mind, and we live in awareness from then only we live in awareness from moment to moment. I have some thoughts coming to my mind. What an amazement, what a surprise. What about an amazement and surprise that we are talking about the real nature, the very existence which is beyond all the five senses, and still we are listening from ears. Did you get it? We are in search of the real self, that is pure consciousness. So, what an amazement and surprise that we are communicating. We are communicating through our mind in the same sense organs. What an amazement and surprise. Our tiny head nods and moves in affirmation, listening about real self, and still it transcends this brain and the mind. Are you getting it? It transcends the brain and the mind. So when the mind touched that consciousness, you take the world lightly. Divorce, marriage, single, happy, married, happy. Everything falls into its right place. Because that is the nature of the world. Do you see? I always see every day I wake up in the morning, what an amazing amazement and a surprise in our life that we are centered inside completely, and this world of change continues. Relationship, world, pain, pleasure. Someday the body says discomfort, and it continues. The next day it is comfort. What a surprise. The seekers are listening. What a surprise. The teacher is talking using the same sense organs. And what we are talking which transcends the sense organs in the mind. Do you see that amazement and a surprise? And if you live in that amazement and surprise every day, every moment, the mind is purified. That is the meaning of living from moment to moment. That is the meaning of living from moment to moment. So, in this series, we are going logically so that your intellect starts thinking about the reality. If we do not think, nothing is going to happen. That is very much sure. If you say twice a week or thrice a week, listening for an hour, and the rest 23 hours his mind is already attached to the world outside. We are not saying, our masters are not saying that you do not live in the material world. You live there, but the world should not live in you. That is, but I have to think about it. If I do not think, my intellect will not push the mind for clarity. And if the mind does not push for, mind is not clear, what will happen? It came from the animal mind, instinctive, habitual, same stuff again and again. Same stuff. We wake up, we sleep, we dream, we have some pain today, tomorrow is a pleasure. That we have been doing for days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months, years after years. And one day, goodbye to this world. We did not find our real self. If that thinking goes into our head, the mind will dare not to move into likes and dislikes, attachment and detachment. Someday you get less money, someday you get more. You someday you like a particular food and that causes you constipation. The other day, this world is should be like this. It will continue. So it doesn't mean that we should not take care. We should use these instruments to the best of its ability without attachment. That needs to be thought upon again and again and again and again. Otherwise, what will happen? You see that when the tap water is leaking, you check it and take step to stop leaking. Same thing, mind is always leaking. Mind is always leaking to something else. One day you say, honey, you are good. No, I have some reservation about you. Who says this? I should become aware. Mind. Come on, mind. Come on, mind. Take rest. I have to think. If I do not think, nothing. Contemplation and reflection. Huh? So now we are all seekers. Breathing practice, mantra practice, all the practices are definitely good. At what level? When we are becoming a seeker. When we are already a seeker, Master says the highest practice is listening to these principles first, contemplation and reflection on those principles second. Until you are inspired within that I have to do the practice, I have to live into that state of awareness all the time. We are living in the same world, with the five sense organs and mind. What an amazement and a surprise that the mind is still united with the real self. There is no other surprise in this world. No surprise. Even if you get $1 million, there is no surprise. So that is why one master says, Satasangatve Nisasangatvam. When you are listening to these principles, even for an hour, it demands minimum, do you remember? 9 hours of contemplation on one principle. So should you stop working and you contemplate? No, you live your life. Contemplate in the mind. What is that contemplation? Your honey says, what a crazy you are. Contemplate. Thank you, honey. I'm more crazy than you think. That is contemplation. Same thing, Brandy. You go to teach someone, ah, carefree. Why? I'm settled in myself. That will come only by listening. If someone says you are crazy, say, hold on, it will not work. So it works only until you are becoming a seeker. Do you see? Understand that. That is why the master says satasangatve nisasangatvam. I have to listen. I heard my master 26 years. Every day, some majority of the time for 5 to 6 hours. Satasangatve nisasangatvam. So what happens? By listening, the mind reminds those principles. When you contemplate, the intellect settles into that principle. What is the first result? Detachment. Detachment from the world outside. Attachment is emotional dependence on the people, objects, things outside. There is nothing more than that. And when you have an emotional dependence on any person, things outside, you have to suffer. It creates a delusion. No, I had a lot of expectations. That is why I married. You should have told before. I should have given a break. No more expectations. So the first thing the master says, satasangatve nisasangatvam. And once we have the sense of detachment, nirmohatvam. Nirmohatvam. What is nirmohatvam? That detachment awakens in your intellect the right knowledge. That detachment. Detachment, when I say attachment is emotional dependence, it means you don't go back to your home and you say, honey, now I'm not dependent on you emotionally. Then you are more crazy. Keep inside, so once you drop emotional dependence, what will happen? It will be replaced by love and care. It will be replaced by love, care, kindness. Why? I'm living in this material world with my body and a mind in relationship. I must do what I have to do every day without fail, without laziness. So when I feel responsible when I drop the emotional dependence and I move with affection. You move with affection to yourself the moment you wake up in the morning. Allow the intellect to think like this. No, let me move with affection in relationship, in the world outside. So, satasangatve nisasangatvam, nisangatve nirmohatvam. Nirmohatvam, when I have the right knowledge in the intellect, see that third point. When I have the right knowledge in the intellect, what an amazing statement this master makes, who lived almost 1700 years ago, Shankara. He says, nirmohatve, with the right knowledge, your body and mind will remain steady. You cannot make the mind steady by breathing through right nostril and breathing out through left, and then arguing, no, we should do it with the right nostril. We should not do it with the left nostril. No, we should breathe little shorter and longer. That is the process of becoming a seeker. Now we are a seeker. We will continue those practices when required, but there should not be emotional dependence on those things. Nirmohatve nishchal tattvam. With that right knowledge in the intellect goes to the mind, drops the leaking of the mind. Mind is already steady. Where the mind is wandering. And then what happens? Nishchal tattve jivan mukti. So in the four steps, this master says, when the mind is steady, you are in meditation, that awakens you to the real self. Think of this. Contemplate and reflect. What an amazing life. What we see, what an amazing life of a Bollywood actor. There's the greatest Bollywood actor, like Hollywood, more than 50, 60 million dollars in something like this. You see that? We see the word. What an amazing Bollywood actor. He has $50 million. And what happened last week? You see that amazement drops instantly. So his son was caught because of drug peddling. I ask your intellect to think, can I be in peace here and now? I have no money. I'm not as smart as Bollywood actor. Think of this. I have to think. If I think like this, the mind drops. The mind that is deluded by the world outside drops. There is no difference between a person who is settled in meditation and you see who is a non-seeker and millions of people are around us. Outside there is no change, but inside there is a tremendous calm, peace is there within. We need to contemplate and reflect. We are in the series second of becoming a seeker. But understand that the knowledge is realized in stages. My master used to say that this seed does not become a tree overnight. Same way, the knowledge is realized in stages. That is why listening, contemplation, dropping the attachment, and then this intellect gives the right knowledge to the mind. You drop the instinctive, habitual nature, then the mind becomes steady, and the steadiness of the mind leads to meditation. Meditation leads to settled in the real self. $50 million. We Indians, think we dream that, okay, let me see his house, which even cost, you see, around $1 billion. Now, see, I have seen, oh, this cost $1 billion. Now, ask your mind how it takes it. Amazing, surprising. Oh, he is such a great man. What happened to this great man? What about his recognition and reputation? So, on reputation and recognition within, that is the best thing to do in our life. And the meditation helps us to get that recognition. Do I have that intellect which thinks like this? And then tell me when you will be when you will be miserable, when there will be a stress in your life. Then you take this world lightly. It does not mean that you should not work hard. It does not mean that you should not earn money. Do you see that? Do you see the inner change? I am earning money now as a user, not as an emotional dependence on the objects outside. Are you getting it? So once I think like this, then what will happen? You wake up one day in the morning and mind says, oh, just take the word casually. Do your work the best possible way. In relationship, play your role. I'm a teacher. Let me play my role the best for an hour. Finished. We'll talk one thing in detail in the next session, but I gave you an idea and the thought process of our masters. So I open the topic that why and how the mind prompts to look into these desires. What and who prompts the mind to seek happiness outside? Have you heard that like attracts like? Magnet is there, iron fillings are there, it attracts. What causes the mind to go back again, even after listening? Even if your mind says, I'm clear now. And the next day, I have a big face. Why? So he says, this master says, there are 5 features of the material world, and because the mind is a matter, like attracts like, and we forget our real nature. Did you get it? First thing, and now let us understand the first. First is the object of experience. Object of my experience. What is the object of my experience? Oh, I have a wonderful monitor, 2 monitors. I'm looking at you and I'm looking at whether it is being recorded or not. First is the object of experience. So that object is a matter, and mind says it is wonderful, attached. Use it, throw it. No, don't throw it means that use it and forget. Second is very important. Oh, what a sensation. We hug each other. Oh, I like you, I love you. Second is this, the world, material world outside and the body are made up of the same matter. Do you see that? Are you getting it? This body and the material world, tell me what is the difference? Same carbohydrate, protein, minerals, same matter. 108 elements. What is the main thing? Matter. This is matter, world is matter. Like attracts like. Mind says, when you are already attracted, so let me enter into attachment, let me enter into emotional dependence, let me enter into delusion. Third, do you see that the seeing, feeling, 5 sense organs, and their experience in the mind is material or not? Think of this. Touch. So mind creates a delusion here. This is matter, this is also matter. The very experience is happening is also the matter. But the mind is deluded. And mind falls into delusion. And then Once one touch gives rise to millions of touches. Oh, I have picked, I ate that food. Mind says, repeat it. How many times we have repeated eating into the same restaurant? What happened? Are you able to accumulate all the pleasures together to say that, here is my happiness? This thinking is required. Again, I'm saying, don't stop going to the same restaurant, but now emotional dependence is not there. If you don't get it, you are happy. You get it, you are happy. The mind is free. Fourth factor of this material world, that it is subject to change from amoeba to elephant, from earth to the sun. Everything is changing. So that change is subjected by the birth and the death. And this subjected, when it is subjected by the birth and death, it's the birth and death of the body, not me. I am the real self. Hold on to that thought. Hold on to that thought. I'm the real self. So why to hold on to that thought? To make the mind steady. Why to make the mind steady? Withdrawn inside. What happens when the mind is withdrawn inside? The mind reflects the real self inside. We discover ultimate peace and happiness. We discover ultimate peace and happiness. Every practice in Eastern wisdom, in yoga, Hatha yoga, kundalini, mantra, mindfulness are useful. But you should understand when these practices and steps are required in your life. Where the needle is required, you don't use the scissors. So do you see that? Oh, Kundalini meditation is wonderful. Let me do it. The next day I'm on the bed. Mindfulness. Oh, just do nothing. Close your eyes. Focus on the breath. And the mind is reacting and resisting. I should find out when and where to use these different modes of practices based on becoming a seeker. That is the message. So once we understand, now you see you have an understanding, 5 factors. Mind is a matter, material world is a matter, body is a matter, like attracts like. Let me maintain my awareness. I am beyond all of these. And I am beyond all of these. What will happen? Now, this mind does not contain any object, any time, any place, any event, anything of the world outside. It will reflect the real self. That is what the highest meditation is. So, after the gossip, let us start our practice. I said,